feel like you got to address some of these tanks. I think maybe a B could come in the equation. I don't know if it's enough DPS, but it's a very popular option right now and a direct answer into the Frank. If you go El Primo, you're kind of worried about the Lou, and that's a big problem for why Lou is, you know, so good in the game right now. He can address those midfield ones pretty well, and also is going to hold his own against those aggressive brawlers. It's just so difficult. So I think going for something like a wall break option here and just opening up the map entirely is maybe your best bet. I think Humble are off to a pretty good start, though.
Well, in our last set, we had a big pickup there from Torby. Let's see if they can pick it up this time or if they can turn it all around. I'd love for this series to go the whole way. But gentlemen, I'll leave that up to the players and leave casting up to you.
Hopefully Torby are going to be able to bounce back because, yet again, I don't mind their comp. I think it's pretty decent against what we're seeing from Humble, to be honest with you. They're just sticking with what they know, with the tank, with the healer, and going to try power through all of this like defensive and, you know, offensive capabilities that Torby have as well. So I think it's quite well-rounded on both sides.
Yeah, I don't mind it for either end. I mean, I think Griff, B, some of these brawlers are going to be more popular since we've last seen them. I mean, it's been entirely different balance changes. It's changed up entirely. One of the reasons I love this game is it's always a roller coaster and you have to adapt. Humble are obviously going to be a great team at doing that. I know the game 3 for the other end didn't work out as well for Torby, but at least they showed they've got a fighting chance. I mean, I think they're drafting appropriately. They're making good decisions. I think they just got to get themselves over the edge a little bit here and try and take a set or two. I mean, one thing that we talked about as well, obviously this isn't the regular season. This is going to be the Invitational. So I think just building some good confidence here is a big deal going to those monthly finals.
Well, these two teams obviously preparing themselves, want to get their heads on straight. It's a big match for them both, but the set is going to be crucial for overall. So with the tone setting that you see from these teams, when they're playing against each other, you know, round after round, are you seeing them start to respond to each other, or does Humble just stick to what they know?
I mean, you can see them even through just the first set on Duel and Beatles responding to each other really well. You know, Humble win the first one, then Torby come back in dominant fashion, beating them 100-20. So you can see the kind of bounce back from Torby, but then Humble just flip it back on them as soon as they know what Torby are going to want to do, and you know they know how to counter the counter, if you can put it like that. So it's definitely a good position. We'll wrap back around with Seltzer in just a moment, but we are already 1 goal up and a minute and a half into the game, and it is Humble with just that 1 goal lead.
And it feels like they've destroyed half the map alongside it. I'm sure that's Frank Supers. I'm sure that's some Griff action going in there as well. But right now, Humble on the defensive end, dribble down the middle of the field, a piggy bank on the left-hand side. It can't quite stretch far enough to break down those lower boxes. That would have been a nice pickup there for Torby.
Point where you're kind of sacrificing your life for a piggy bank, and the piggy bank did absolutely nothing there, bear in mind as well. So a little bit of an unfortunate situation for Torby. They definitely going to want a bit more out of those piggy banks and allow Griff to kind of, you know, live his life that little bit longer to get the most effect, I feel.
Quick there for Torby.
Yeah, not a good look. I mean, we'll see how the game finishes out. Looked like it was a 1-0 at the time. We'll get you all back in whenever we get a chance. But I think it was a good start ultimately for Humble. I mean, that's one of the things you have to watch out for, right? You can't let them steamroll you. It has to be keeping up the whole time. You don't want Humble to build up momentum. I mean, if you can even pick up a set here, just give yourself a chance. I think that's a big deal. Didn't look like that's how things were starting there.
Yeah, this opportunity now for both teams to kind of see what's up, get their heads back on straight, head back into this. But we do have, you know, a fun game mode that players tend to enjoy. Do you see, you know, a little more creativity when it comes to this?
In Brawl, I think, you know, it's definitely, I don't know if it's more creative, but you see a lot more aggression coming out of it, and it kind of loops around with some other game modes as well. With Heist, you know, it's played a lot more defensive than it used to be, kind of changed over time, but Brawl Ball's definitely one of the game modes where it usually caters to the maps perfectly, and you can just kind of run at each other and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed over the years, and during these balance changes as well, it's going to mix up a little bit. I mean, before it felt like we had a real tank and then tank counter, and now it's a little more evenly distributed. Like I said, at least in games, we're not seeing as much bunch of tanks, bunch of tank counters. It's a Frank maybe gets mixed in there. I mean, obviously it depends on the map and mode, but for at least the two that we've seen, a lot of the times it's a Frank, and then maybe that's it. I mean, I feel like it's not really a tank-heavy meta like it used to be.
Well, Humble has won 2-0 in this matchup, so as you said, very comfortable, able to respond as they need to Torby. Torby, though, bringing some impressive plays and some impressive choices in the draft that have served them well as we head on into Game 3.